Hello and welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. I am thrilled to have an incredible author with us tonight. Her name is Anita McLaurin, and she has probably impacted so many lives. And I know many of you who are going to be here live probably would love to discuss maybe what you have felt. And if you have never heard of her before or have seen her book, well, come on with us. But before we start talking to her, we're going to jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back. Welcome again, everyone, to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. Again, we have Miss Anita McLaurin, and we are so excited to have her here tonight. You can see running on the ticker underneath us tonight is her book called My Father Said I Could. All right, Anita, let's have at it. Share with us a little bit about who you are, and let's jump in and get this started.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for having me here, April. My name again is Anita McLaurin, and I am an author, a coach, a speaker, sometimes a little bit under duress because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But I'll tell you what, I've been doing this for quite some time, and I am excited about my book that was really given to me, if you will, by divine insight. And again, you can see the title, My Father Said I Could, has kind of a double play. And we're here. It's a children's book, but it has a couple of twists and turns in it that I'd love to talk to you about.
Awesome. And when we brought this subject and topic to everyone tonight, we wanted to really talk about that idea that can a children's book change your life? I mean, it's a children's book. Why not something that has a lot of fact and content in it, or this, big, huge, thick novel? I think any book can have a change and impact on you. And I think sometimes children's books have a way to just really get to it. So share a little bit about why you started to write a children's book in the first place.
Good question, April. I never started to write a children's book. Never. As a matter of fact, I was writing another book for adults, and I finished chapter 1, 2, and 3. And after that, nothing came. It was just a total blank. And so I, as we do, we take some time off, right? We put it away, and then we come back to it. Maybe we'll have fresher thoughts or something like that. And what happened was I was on a flight home, and I got this download of this information. And so here I am on my cell phone, writing it all down. When I got off the flight, I understood that this was the story I was supposed to be writing, not the other story. This was the story. And so I'm thinking, what am I going to do with this? What is this? Because again, my intentions weren't to write a children's book, but that's exactly what it was. And so that's where the story came from. And I talked to a friend of mine, and she said, Anita, this is actually the story of your life. And I went, what? I didn't even recognize it. I didn't recognize it at the moment that this is what I had. This is the story that I lived in my younger years. So the characters that you see are me and my brothers, my mom and my dad. That is who you're looking at. And this is really our story.
Wow, incredible. Sometimes really removing yourself and just accepting what came as inspiration. And isn't it funny how so many other people can go, like pretty obvious as the nose on your face.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's right here. And you're like, oh, I guess it does match. But that constitutes, I think, a great humility to understand, to take the information that was divinely given from Heavenly Father to you to then share out. And in a children's book form, tell me about, in your writing of this, did you ever kind of test it with kids, or kind of how did that whole process go forward?
Not, that's an interesting question. I never tested it it with kids in the writing of it. But in retrospect, I looked back, again on my own life, and I've been testing it my whole life. In other words, there's a scene in the book where there's the children on the porch talking, and me and my siblings are saying what all the things that we can do. And one of this young kid comes up and says, "You can't do that." And we're, of course, saying, "Yes, we can, because our father told us that we could." And literally, that's what my dad used to tell us all the time. We could do things. And so I didn't understand why this kid had a different perspective. And so we proceeded to tell him all the things that he could do, why he could do them. And that was me at 10, 11, 12, talking to children about what they could do at that age. And so it just progressed through elementary school, through middle school, through high school, through college. And I'm still doing it, telling people, yes, you can do this. And this is how.
Wonderful. That idea of you can and how it has so much hope. I really, really love that idea of what hope can give us. It allows for an opportunity, still open to choice of whether we're going to claim it or not.
Right.
And I think with that hope, it opens up a real opportunity to test out our faith, right?
Yes.
Where we're gonna step forward into something that we never thought possible. I mean, I just remember looking at just my own parents, right? And we'll take, everything in their shutdown moments of 2020, that concept of how are we going to communicate? We were all across the country, what to do. And then, of course, getting connected online and different ways of technology, watching, I would say a generation who was like, no way, this is not going to happen for me. And now, that continuing connection is really, really so interesting. And, I can't became, I got to do something. I must. And the can kind of was sometimes feels like a force on, like, well, I have the choice to not communicate and relate with others, or I have a choice that I can. And that's where you put the fear aside. So with anything that says that you can, what usually pops up next is some type of fear or doubt, or that reasoning, not me, because of blah, 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 blah. And we have that whole list. Yeah, it's really interesting. So when you got the download and now you're like, oh my gosh, this is a children's book, what were your next steps? Were you an illustrator? Were you an artist? Were you like, hey, I need some help? Like, what was your next step with that?
Yeah. So I finally realized it's a children's book. I finally realized it's about my own family. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what next? So I needed some assistance with how to put it together. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. so I definitely needed an illustrator. I needed someone to come alongside me and tell me how to put this together. Now, I know there are a lot of processes out there and things that you can figure out on your own, but I was on a timeline. A lot of times, and you know this very well, April, people say that your book is your baby. Well, this book, baby, literally took me 9 months to put it together from start to finish. So I found an illustrator, and here's an interesting story about the illustrator. I found him online, and I never told him that this was my family. I didn't give him descriptions of us. I didn't give him pictures of us. All I said was, I want this age, this, this skin color, this. And my brothers, my siblings literally believe that it's them in the book. So if you saw pictures of us when we were younger and you see this book cover, you would think that's what I did. And he's never seen them. So I think it's, amazing that happened. So yeah, I found a publisher, if you will, a collaborative publisher, and he helped walk alongside me as we were going through this process. But it was a lot of work. And a lot of times people think children's books, I don't know that the message is all that deep or it's not that hard, but it's extremely challenging, to say the least. To say you have so many themes in such a short amount of space, you really have to say what you mean and mean what you say.
That is so true. And I want to, dedicate this whole month of April to kids because children are our future. And so I was thinking, well, what could we do? Because there's many awarenesses in this month that are
Mhm.
challenging. We have, childhood abuse month, childhood sexual abuse awareness month, a lot of things that where we look at what the damage has happened with kids. Now we
Right.
want to have a perspective. So I was thinking, what could I do that's positive, that could be uplifting? And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, children's books. Let's put that for the whole thing. So I am excited to say that the entire month is dedicated to authors who have written children's books.
Yes.
And what a great way to start off with Anita, because something very hopeful saying that, hey, you can. My father said so. You
Yeah.
can. So I think this is an incredible opportunity. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am the story about the illustrator. Again, I just think that's another one of those matches that as we get nudged and prompted along the way, how many of you out there have had the prompting of or the nudge to do something and immediately you're like, nah, nah, no, no,
Yeah.
no, or
Yeah.
can't, or this is the reasons why. So Anita, what would you tell them if that was happening and you were in the room like the fly on the wall, like, what would you say to them?
I would say follow me because I'm writing the book and I'm thinking, okay, so now what? Well, do I know how to do this? Do I know how to do this? Do I know? I'm thinking the same thing. And then I have to stop and say, well, if he's given me the message, then he's going to give me what I need to follow through on the message. And what we need to do is push past the fear and continue to keep going. And what happens is a lot of times we get stuck at that first moment and we keep looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And whatever you keep looking at keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, which if you had just looked at it and say, okay, yeah, I'm a little nervous here, but I'm going to do what my father said and stepped over that fear, you would have gotten through that point and to the next point. And then you run up against the next obstacle. You figure that one out, you get through that point. And I think we're so busy, April, trying to get to the end of a thing. And it's not the end of the matter. It's the journey through to the matter that matters, and how we come out on the other side of it. This process of writing this book, just as anybody else's process of writing a book, you become a different person. You become a better person. You become a braver person. You become a more confident person because you've put something together that when you started initially, you did not know what you were doing. But that's life. That's like anything else that we do. I'm not sure why we think we should automatically know how to do everything and that we should not, come up against obstacles. It's okay. If you're coming up against an obstacle, you're still alive. Let's just keep pushing through it.
I love that. If you're against an obstacle, you're still alive. And
Yeah.
so, with that idea of you can, and if you don't know how to figure it out, do you have to do this by yourself?
No.
No.
Mm.
Bombshell, you don't
Yeah.
have to do this alone.
You don't have
right?
to.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
And I think that will really help with some of that worry or fear. So, not to share the entire book, but can you maybe share one of the scenes in the book that might be impactful for our audience tonight?
Yeah, there's a scene in the book. I personally was in a conference and I shared this scene with a young lady that was sitting next to me in a conference whom I did not know. And the scene was one of the boys in the book had a math paper, and he did not do well on that math paper. And so he was nervous about bringing it home to father, right? And so when he got home, he was afraid that father was going to yell at him or do whatever it is that the kids think that you're going to do when they don't do so well. And instead, what he did was he encouraged him. He's like, you're going to be fine. What you need to do is a little study, a little this, a little that. And he helped him through the process. And you see the end result a little bit later in the book. And so now I'm telling this part of the story to this lady. And April, she just begins to cry. And I'm going, oh my, I said, did I offend you? Did I hurt you? What happened? And she said, you don't even understand. I did not finish college because I could not pass the math. My daughter now is struggling with math in high school. And what happened was I decided that I was going to do it. I was going to push past the fear, and I was going to do this because I needed to prove to my daughter that it was going to work. Now you're telling me in your book, this is a scene in your book. She said, no, this is a scene from my life. This is a scene from my daughter's life. And she said, thank you so much, because there's so much fear surrounding certain topics in school that kids need to know. But there was a bigger lesson for her, not just that it was math. You fill in the blank, whatever it is for you, that you can get through and get over that thing. So I couldn't believe that someone, for what I thought was such a simple scene, got so much out of that. So yeah, and fast forward later, her daughter got through her math classes as well. So because then she believed that she could. So
wow, it's so powerful when we believe in things, when we're given that hope and a little nudge and take action on things, results happen.
Yeah.
And it's not about the control of what we hope to happen. Usually it's something even better, and our learns are even deeper. And that's the idea. That's the point. That's the gift, right?
Yeah.
So in speaking about fathers, we do have our earthly fathers here. I hope that many earthly fathers know the importance of their life within our children's lives, within the family. I think what's so popular today is just to dismiss the father.
Yeah,
no, they are a rock and a foundation for our families. And that idea shouldn't be dismissed. We have millions and millions of boys all over. We're dismissing that adult opportunity.
Right.
No, it needs to be encouraged. And if we kind of connect with who our Heavenly Father is and how He has given us so many things. And I want to just kind of, put this in here because it is our Easter week, the Holy Week, and in preparation for the most incredible event the world has ever known. And Heavenly Father knew the whole mission and knew that week was going to be gut-wrenching, right?
Right.
Yeah. There's a strength in knowing that He still said, you can.
Yeah.
And that amazing Son did. And all of us can just sing praises and be so grateful for. So within your book, learning more about how people respond, do you speak to more children, or do you speak to more adults? And in sharing the book, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, initially, of course, it's a children's book. I thought that I would be speaking to more children. And so I proceeded to do that and have spoken to thousands and thousands of children thus far. But what an interesting thing happened or started to happen as I was speaking to those children. When the sessions were over and the kids were hugging on you and loving on you, they would leave the room, and the adults in the room would say this to me. And I heard this 3 times. It took 3 times for me to hear it. They said, "What about us?" And the first time I didn't understand. The second time I didn't understand. And the third time I said, "What about you?" This is a book for children. But then I finally, the light, that pinpoint of light came. And I said, I get it. So there are a lot of adults that have father hurts, father wounds as well. And so we need to, it's not just to focus on the children. You have to focus on everyone that needs the assistance. And so lately, April, I've been speaking to actually more adults than I have children about the same topic. It may not, I don't always use the book per se, but I take I have an 8-hour workshop based on the book. So depending on the grade level or the kids or what have you, I'll just pull pieces of it and teach that and what they need. But for the adults, finding out where they are, and then I'll teach the exact same information, of course, on a, a more adult level, mature level, but it has the same impact in their hearts. And so it's amazing to me. I never dreamed that this was going to be for anyone other than children. So I've taught it from kinder all the way up to 80s, 90s, 90-year-olds in the room. So amazing to me that a simple children's book could have that kind of impact.
Yeah, and the expanse on that impact. I think the simplicity of the book, feeling like, oh, it's a children's book, I'm okay, I'm safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like somebody's handing you a book that says everything your father did to hurt you and more. Please read.
No, we're not
reading that. And then when this comes about based on the different scenes, you get to see that hope, you get to see those possibilities and how you've tied it in towards the end. And what resolves there is something really simple, but deeply profound. So I just thank you for those opportunities. I know the impact it has with my family's life when we have maybe some challenging things popping up or wonderings. Can I do this? I'm worried about something. Oh, weird. The book's in my hand. I guess we got to read it. Just that idea of bringing something more together. And sometimes I will, yes, I am that mom, and I just kind of leave it around. And sometimes it sits in the place for a week or two, and then you see the little hand, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And then usually a discussion happens afterwards. And so those are those normal, natural ways where I think faith and hope can really become developed. And we are identifying and developing ourselves to know there is more.
Right.
And as a loving Heavenly Father gives us that more, that opportunity for more, the opportunity for can and possibilities.
Yeah.
It just allows for everything to happen. Yeah. Right. So I can see why in a flight you got this download.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're cute. You want to write this book.
No.
Well, I got a mission for you.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you were open to receiving that and then not being blocked by the fear and stopping. Yeah. So this is an encouragement to everyone out there who's had the nudge, who's had something. And if you need help and support with books, I mean, there's so many of us that can do that. But really, if you've had that impactful moment and understanding, please share, because somebody out there is in need. Just like your example at the conference.
Yeah.
Didn't know her story. And it's really interesting that math is a topic. Yeah. Math is a topic that has wounded many because you feel so dumb. You feel that sense of, I can't, and I never, and I had these dreams of, but because math is involved, so I'm not going to. That's a crusher. And again, this is not a focus on math necessarily within the book. It's just a scene from, and you can, like you said, fill in the blank. What is it that you're struggling with? Put it in, right? So incredible, awesome things. All right. So, Anita, with the time that we have left, please share anything that you would like to tell our audience tonight on the Beacon of Light podcast. Give them that hope, give them that encouragement of my father said I could.
Well, I was in another interview once, April, and the interviewer asked me the same question, to share something that's impactful, or what would you say to parents of young children, older children, what have you? And I said, tell them that they have purpose. And I think the interviewer was looking for something a little deeper, a little bit more profound, but that is, how many children walk around not understanding that they're here for a divine purpose, and that their job and their task in life is to literally discover what's in them, discover that purpose through Father, and then to go about achieving that goal. Now, They're going to have to go through life step by step, but if you know that you have a specific purpose, it makes a big difference. Then, the general question is, why am I here? Who hasn't asked that when they were younger? Why am I here? Now you have some older people asking the same question because no one told them that they were here on this earth. If you're still breathing, I don't care if you're 9 or 99, you have purpose in your life. And so I have this tagline, why am I here? To teach people to live their intended design. Now, there are a lot of people living, but I don't think they're living their intended design, because 70% or more, depending on the statistic that you read, they don't like the work that they do. They don't care for, going to work. But when you're doing the thing that you love, there's always going to be something about it that you may not like. And you can shell that out to someone else. But when you're in purpose, it makes a difference. And you can do that until you lay your head to rest and wake up in heaven, right? But a lot of people don't realize that there's more to them than meets the eye. You have to go to the Father and ask, why am I here? What am I gifted with? What should I be doing now? And how are all these other things that I've done in the past, how is all that going to work together for my good to get to the place that you want me to be before I lay my head down? There's a scripture somewhere in the Bible, and I think it reads about Joshua. I think it's Joshua. And it says something to this effect, that he did everything the Lord asked him to do, and he left nothing undone. Oh my, what if that was your testimony? You did everything, every purpose God, every plan God had for you, and you left nothing undone. Wouldn't that be amazing? So be encouraged today, because we can do the same. We just have to ask the Father. And once we ask him, understand he said that you could, because he gave you the ability to do it.
That is beautifully said. That is really beautifully said. I was noticing on the book that there was like an award or something.
Award, yeah.
You want to share a little bit about this award?
Yes, I was part of this authors group, and they had a book award, and it was their first book award, and it was actually international. They were children's books. I was in the children's book category from all over the world. And I thought, well, now you gave me this book, so I'm going to enter this book. And I can't tell you all the challenges that I had to get to the awards night, but lo and behold, I was sitting in the audience, and the children's book category was one of the last to be called. And so I was clapping for everyone else that was winning in the other categories. But I was like, oh my goodness, are they ever going to call the children's book category? And then all of a sudden I heard my name being called and the name of the book. And I could not believe that my father said I could. And I'll show you if you can see this, the seal has won this specific seal right here. It says Author Academy Award, first prize winner in the children's book category. So I'm very proud of that, because it was my first book, my first award in a book. And it's just a testament that he said I could do it. So I did, and he gave me the strength and the endurance to get through it. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy. And when people see it, they're excited about it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Great, great story. It's just fantastic to know that when we follow through, the other opportunities that open up,
yeah,
just allow for more things for his great work to do through us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again so much, Anita, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. Make sure you come back every Tuesday evening at 6:30 Mountain Daylight Time for the Beacon of Light podcast. Continue to be here where we are sharing many stories about hope and light. The whole concept again for the month of April is to celebrate children's books and the impact and emphasis that they can become within our lives. Thank you again, Anita. Again, thank you everybody who popped in here live. We are so honored and grateful for your time spent with us this evening. Now, before we jump out of there, where can we find your book?
Oh, you can find the book anywhere books are sold. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or you can go to my website, AnitaMcLaurin.com, and click on the link there, and we'll be sure to send it out to you.
Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this evening. We'll talk soon. See you later. Bye-bye.